It started on a night that felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. I was 17, home alone. My parents were out of town, and for once, the house actually felt like mine. I had my girlfriend over, and we were just trying to enjoy the freedom. Music low, lights dim, nothing unusual. At some point, we decided to go out back and swim. The pool light flickered softly beneath the water, casting this pale blue glow across the yard. Everything looked calm, normal, too normal. We were laughing, splashing around, until she suddenly stopped. She didn't say anything at first. She just stared, past me. "Did you see that?" she whispered. I turned around. At first, nothing. Then I saw it. A shape, not clear, not solid, just something darker than the darkness behind the glass doors, like a shadow that didn't belong. Inside the house, I immediately got out of the pool, heart starting to race. I checked the doors. They were locked, every single one. Windows too. We went inside together slowly, room by room. Nothing, no broken locks, no open windows, no sound, just silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. We tried to brush it off, told ourselves it was just our imagination, shadows playing tricks, light reflections from the pool, but something felt off. Small things started happening. A chair in the dining room wasn't where I remembered it. A cabinet door in the kitchen was slightly open, even though I was sure I hadn't touched it. Then my girlfriend asked me something that made my stomach drop. "Why is that drawer open?" I looked. The knife drawer, pulled out just a few inches. I walked over slowly and pushed it shut. We didn't talk about it after that. We stayed in my room, door locked, tried to watch something, distract ourselves, but neither of us could focus. Every little sound made us freeze. A creak, a faint tap. Once, what sounded like footsteps, but every time I checked, nothing. At some point we must have fallen asleep, not comfortably, just exhaustion taking over fear. Morning came, and for a brief second, everything felt normal again. Sunlight filled the house, birds outside, no shadows, no silence pressing in, until I walked into the kitchen. I opened the drawer and felt my chest tighten. It was empty, every single knife, gone, not one left behind. We searched the entire house, every room, every corner. Nothing, no sign of forced entry, no broken locks, no footprints, just missing knives. The police came later, checked everything, asked questions, looked for anything unusual, but they found nothing. No evidence anyone had ever been there, no explanation, just a locked house and an empty drawer. They told us it was probably a prank, someone messing with us, but that didn't make sense. Because nothing else was taken, no money, no electronics, nothing except the knives. And that's the part that stayed with me, because whoever or whatever was inside that house wasn't there to steal, it was there to choose, and somehow that feels a lot worse. The night of the campus festival was supposed to be alive, unforgettable. Music echoed through the halls, laughter spilled out into the streets, but not everything that night was meant to be seen. A student returned to their dorm room, expecting nothing more than a moment of silence away from the chaos. The door creaked open slowly, as if something inside didn't want to be disturbed. At first, nothing seemed wrong, until they felt it. A shadow shifted in the corner, and then a figure, standing still, wearing a mask, watching. No words, no movement, just staring. The student froze, heart pounding, breath shallow. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop, and then the figure took a step forward. That was enough. The student ran, out of the room, down the hallway, into the noise of the festival, where everything suddenly felt louder but somehow less safe. But the night wasn't over, not even close. Later, as the crowd thinned and the celebration began to fade, something else appeared, at the edge of campus. Engines, low, rumbling, growing louder. One by one they emerged from the darkness. Bikers, dressed in black, faces hidden behind masks. They didn't speak. They didn't need to, because what they held said everything. Weapons, or at least, something that looked exactly like them. The group moved slowly, deliberately, circling like predators who already knew their target. Students nearby went silent. Some stepped back, others froze, just like before. The masked bikers didn't rush, they didn't panic, they just watched, as if they were waiting. for fear to settle in, for the realization to hit that this wasn't random. And then, just as suddenly as they arrived, they were gone, engines fading into the distance, leaving behind nothing but silence and questions no one could answer, because this wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last. Reports had been surfacing, whispers of masked individuals, sightings of armed figures lurking in the shadows of campus grounds, always watching, always disappearing. Before anyone could get too close, no one knew who they were or what they wanted. But one thing became painfully clear. That night wasn't just a festival, it was a warning. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the campus lights, they were still out there, watching. The music was loud, too loud. Bass shaking the walls, people laughing, bottles clinking. The kind of noise that makes everything feel normal, safe even. But it wasn't. It was Amanda's house. Her parents were out of town, and like every perfect opportunity, it turned into something else, something wrong. I remember stepping outside for some air. The backyard was crowded, but the front, completely empty. That's when I saw him. He was just standing there, not moving, not on his phone, just watching the house. At first I thought maybe he was someone's friend, but then he looked at me and smiled. Not a friendly smile, something off. "Hey," he said, walking closer. "Amanda's parents home?" That question hit weird. Why would anyone ask that? "They're not here," I replied slowly. "Why?" He didn't answer right away, just nodded, like he got the confirmation he needed. Then he said, "Oh, all right," and walked off into the darkness. I stood there for a few seconds longer than I should have. Something about him didn't sit right, but the music pulled me back inside, and I brushed it off. Big mistake. Minutes later, maybe 10, maybe less, I noticed something strange. The front door, it was slightly open. That didn't make sense. We told everyone to use the back entrance, always. No one was supposed to come through the front. I walked closer. Slowly, heart starting to beat a little faster. The hallway was quiet, too quiet compared to the chaos behind me. And then I saw it. Amanda's parents' bedroom door, wide open, lights on, drawers pulled out. Everything destroyed, clothes everywhere, jewelry boxes emptied, mattress half lifted, like someone had been searching for something hidden. My stomach dropped. Someone was inside the house, right now. I stepped in carefully, trying not to make a sound. Then I heard it, a creak from upstairs, slow, deliberate, not the kind of noise you ignore. Every instinct told me to leave, to run, to get help, but I didn't. I started walking toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. The music downstairs faded, like the house itself was holding its breath. Halfway up, I saw movement, a shadow. Someone was up there. I stopped. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. Then suddenly, footsteps. Fast, coming straight at me. Before I could react, something slammed into me, hard. I hit the stairs, air knocked out of my lungs. The guy. The same guy from outside. His face was different now. No smile, just panic and anger. We struggled for a second, but he was stronger, faster. He shoved me aside and ran up instead of down. That confused me. Why go further inside? Then I heard it. A window opening. I forced myself up and rushed after him. By the time I reached the room, he was already halfway out. Second floor. No hesitation, no fear. He jumped. I ran to the window just in time to see him hit the ground, roll, and disappear into the darkness. Gone. Just like that. I stood there, breathing heavy, staring into the night, and that's when it hit me. He wasn't just some random guy. He came there for a reason. He asked about the parents. He knew they weren't home. And he walked straight in through the front door, like he belonged there. If I hadn't stepped outside, if I hadn't answered his question, he might have had more time to search, more time to hide, or worse, more time to find someone alone. After that night, I never looked at house parties the same way again, because sometimes the real danger doesn't come from inside the party. It walks in quietly, through the front door.